Enoch Burke's case and the Wilson Hospital situation. Wilson's Hospital School situation was in the High Court today for a mention, and the judge, before Christmas, Mr. Justice David Nolan, had said that he wanted to hear from the state, essentially from the Attorney General and the Department of Finance, as to what they were going to do in relation to the fines that Enoch Burke has ran up and what were they going to do in relation to his salary and so forth. So Enoch Burke has now been given 2 weeks to make a submission or submissions to the High Court on how fines imposed on him for contempt of court are to be enforced. The judge said that by his rough calculations, Enoch Burke owes roughly €190,000. €190,000. He has been fined for continuing breaches of court order by attending Wilson's Hospital School in Westmeath, despite court orders and injunctions directing him not to. He's also spent over 500 days in Mountjoy prison in 3 different stints. He was freed just before Christmas there, but he returned then to the school from the 6th of January onwards. The judge had asked representatives of the Attorney General's office and the Department of Finance to attend in court to discuss how the fines imposed on Enoch Burke for contempt could be enforced. The judge said that even though the court had the power to jail people and impose fines for contempt, there was no precise statutory regime for such fines to be recovered. Mr. Burke was not in court, but in a letter he described the hearing as illegal, unprecedented and gravely disturbing. He said that the court was seeking advice to strip him of his livelihood. Lawyers for the Attorney General told the High Court that there were mechanisms to force Mr. Burke to pay the fines. After concern expressed by the judge about the costs which have been incurred by the school to date and which would be accrued by the school if it was to take enforcement action itself, the court was told that the Attorney General may be willing to bring the enforcement proceedings in the public interest. Senior Counsel Brian Kennedy for the Attorney General said that he acknowledged the public interest in the enforcement of fines by the courts. Mr. Burke has been in dispute with his former school since August 2022. He was suspended after he interrupted a religious service at the school in June that year to demand that the principal withdrew what he called her demand to use they-them pronouns in relation to a student. In January 2023 then, the High Court imposed a daily fine of €700 on him for each day that he remained in contempt of court orders directing him to stay away from the school. The court heard that the daily fine ran until the court imposed a permanent injunction on him in July that year. Mr. Burke, however, is continuing to receive his full salary from the Department of Education, as his appeal against his dismissal from the school has not yet been heard. So it's important to understand that he has been dismissed from the school and the school is not paying him. He's being paid by the Department of Education, however, because his appeal has not yet been heard. Senior Counsel Alex White told the judge that Mr. Burke was continuing to cause disruption by attending on the school lands. He said that the school had no role to play in paying his salary. Mr. Kennedy said orders seeking enforcement of orders in contempt cases are usually applied for by the party in whose favour the order is made. That would be the school. But he said there were circumstances in which such orders may be made after an application by the Attorney General or by the court's own motion. Mr. Kennedy said one way of enforcing the fine would be an order sequestering Mr. Burke's assets. He said that a sequestration order was essentially an order freezing assets, and there appeared to be no reason in principle why monies could not be withheld in order to pay fines. He also told the court that another way to enforce the fines was to seek a type of order called a garnishee order over Mr. Burke's salary or earnings. Such orders have been made in England and Wales, he said, and there did not appear to be any reason in principle why they could not be made in Ireland. The judge said the school had already incurred significant costs and would incur more costs if the onus was on it to take the enforcement action. Furthermore, the judge said that any fines recovered would not be for the benefit of the school but would be for the benefit of the state. Mr. Kennedy said that the Attorney General was of the view that he did have a standing in the public interest to take such proceedings. Mr. White said the case has been going on now for multiple years. He said all the school wanted to do was to be a school, and it had not made an application to have Mr. Burke brought to court for contempt, because it wanted to see if this process could arrive at a solution. He said court orders in relation to the multiple court hearings so far were being drawn up. The judge also said that he was disappointed that Mr. Burke was not in court, and he said it was imperative that he was given an opportunity to make submissions on the issue. He said he would give him and the school 14 days to make such submissions. He said he'd give a ruling on the matter at some point after that. Earlier, the judge gave a ruling on an issue raised by Burke before Christmas. Mr. Burke and his family had said a direction by the judge that if anyone interrupted the hearing, they would be removed from the courtroom and prohibited from future hearings. The judge said Mr. Burke then maintained a constant barrage of insults any time he tried to speak, and his family stated outside court that the judge had acted unlawfully. The judge said that the whole purpose of removing a disruptive person from the court was to ensure that the rule of law was carried out in public in a clear and understandable way. He referred to a previous judgment of the Supreme Court, and he said he had acted lawfully and correctly. So the bottom line is Enoch Burke has 14 days and the school has 14 days to make submissions about the fines and about what the court proposes to do, what order it proposes to make, in order to recover what it considers or what it estimates at €193,000 in fines and the ongoing payment of €190,000 in fines and the ongoing payment of Mr. Burke's salary. So that has to play out again in a fortnight's time, and after that then the judge will make a decision. But the Attorney General, his office, has indicated that in the public interests they would be prepared to seek sequestration orders against Mr. Burke's assets. Hope you find the video useful. If you do, you might hit the old thumbs up button down below, and you may be interested in subscribing to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much.